All right, so very clearly recording in batches here because I got hurt 2 weeks ago and realized that, you know what, screw it. I have ideals. I want every video to be fresh, every video to be, day by day, but you guys only care about what I talk about and the discussion that it begins. You've told me we don't care if you stand up or sit down. We don't care where you're from. Just create conversation so that we all can get better at what we do. Good. So I thought today, this video, I want to expand upon the short I did, which was about how when you become a niche seller, you split your competition apart and it makes it better for you. The analogy I used was that you feel more like instead of feeling like a small fish in a big ocean, you feel like a small or medium fish in a small pond. Let me explain. So when we start out reselling, for the most part, we sell a bunch of different things. We go, we spend some of our time, maybe most of your free time, but it's like say an hour or two a day. And you're covering general things, like you pick up a couple of toys because you heard that it's profitable. You pick up a t-shirt, you pick up a pair of hands, you pick up a pair of shoes, you pick up a a Game Boy that's cheap. Just a bunch of different things, right? Because you're trying your hand. You're not sure what you like to sell. You're not sure what you can sell. You're not sure what you are good at describing. You may pick up an item and go, I do not know how the hell I identify this. And then you might pick up an item and go, I don't really want to sell this. And that's just it, right? You're allowed to not want to sell something. Like, I have no interest in selling pots. I can make a grand selling pots. I just don't want to sell pots. So I don't like the sound that it makes clanking. I don't like selling things that have metal bits that I have to play with. Like, I think I've mentioned this before on the channel. I absolutely dislike selling guitars, stringed instruments, because when my hands touch the strings, they get sweaty and kind of clammy and, they smell like metal. I just don't like it. So even though I can make lots of money doing it, I've got a pretty good eye for playing electric guitars. So there are a bunch of reasons why you may choose to, or you may like to sell one item more than another. But anyways, you start off general. Eventually, you start getting some traction and you spend more time. You start to allocate more time. Most of us have been through this where, let's say we allow an hour because it's fun. Eventually becomes 2, 3, 4. Eventually, we're taking the missus and the kids on weekend trips, but picking up stuff along the way. It starts to creep. And the point is, you're starting to maximize your capacity as a reseller. And then, eventually, as generalists, we may make the jump to full-time reselling. And then we allocate our job capacity to the business. So now, you're doing, say, 40 hours a week of generalist reselling. It can still feel like you're competing with everybody. Because the fact is, you still feel like you're not that big. You got enough to feed yourself, but you don't have enough really to be comfortable just yet. And then, you're also very aware that everything you sell, you only sell in small quantities. So, in comparing, whenever you research different categories, you'll realize, wait, I'm selling only a small percentage of that category, of this other category. And it still feels like small fish, big ocean. Like you're not really making much progress. When you narrow your focus, what you'll find is you've already known how to increase your capacity to do something. Because you've gone from an hour a week to an hour a day to doing the weekend trips, picking up stock for all these items. And you're shifting now your focus, but with the same capacity. So therefore, you're increasing the capacity per item that you're focusing on to narrow down to certain categories. You increase the number of stock you sell. You increase the amount of research you do. You increase the variety of that same category that you're finding, because as you change your search patterns, you change your search habits, your search regularity, you will see more stock. Undoubtedly, you'll discover things that you didn't know were rare. Suddenly they appear. You will find items that are a lot cheaper than what you thought, because suddenly you're looking for more quantity. Therefore, you're searching a lot harder, smarter. And as a product of that, naturally, your perspective on the marketplace starts to shift. Generally, sellers who used to sell like you, who sell 1, 2 items of that thing that you're focused on, you almost don't even care for anymore, because once they sell that item, they may or may not replenish at a good rate, in which case you may never see them again. And then in maybe 3 or 6 months' time, you may see another one pop up, another one pop up. And as you're selling more regularly, you start to notice that buyers will combine their orders because items will relate to each other. Jeans and belts, phones and phone cases, laptops and hard drives, toys, but different characters from the same franchise, shoes and socks. You get the idea. So then when you see sellers sell one-off items, you'll go, they can have the one-off because I didn't have that one-off, but they're not going to have these combined orders. That was for me the first time I went from small to medium in my head. I was like, I'm not a small fish. I'm like a medium fish because I do more for the same amount of work or less. And then I started to notice only the competitors who were focusing on my category. And then I also noticed that as I kept buying out stock locally in my state and then going interstate, like I'd ship stuff from, I'm in Victoria, and in Australia, it's mostly coastal cities. I'd get stuff from Western Australia down to Victoria, South Australia, New South Wales, Queensland, Northern Territory even. I'd find stock in the randomest of places, and I'd just go, here's a courier label, ship it to me, and they would. And I noticed as I'm picking up really good lots and taking them off the market, my competitors are actually not replenishing as fast as they normally are because I'm noticing as well. So how do I notice this? Whenever you research for an item, you can save that search. And if you save that search based on time, like newly listed, when you're sitting on the toilet for 10 minutes if you're a woman, 25 to an hour if you're a man, and just scrolling through that saved searches feed, it's essentially like an Instagram feed, and you can scroll and you can see who's listing, and eventually you'll notice which photos belong to who. And you can actually make a mental note of the replenishing rate of others versus yourself. And so that, as you can imagine, shifts you from feeling like a small fish in an ocean to now feeling like a medium fish in a much smaller pond. And that does a lot for your posture as a reseller when you talk to your partner about it, when you talk to your kids, your family members, when people ask how you're going. You're no longer kind of going like, yeah, I guess it's going okay. No, it's actually, you go, yeah, it's going really well. We have more than enough to do, getting stock coming in every day. The way you present it is the confidence that they need. They don't need to understand exactly what you do, but it's kind of like you no longer give off this vibe of I'm not sure. Instead, you sound like, yeah, I'm good. Quite happy. Like those people who move and live on a farm, they're like, yeah, we love living on a farm. Air's fresh every morning. I make a cup of coffee, head to my deck, sip, and then, yeah, simple life, low expenses, low level of work, just chill. Read a book today. And then as they tell you this, you're just like, damn, that's nice. And that's really it, isn't it? It's that thing that is that way you say it that makes people go, oh, that's actually not bad. So that's what medium fish, small pond from small fish, big ocean sounds like. People start saying, yeah, that sounds pretty good. So yeah, that's the long version of that short about how you split your competitors away from each other and how that really helps your mental well-being. Hope this helps. I'll see you in the next video, which will happen shortly.